Welcome to Jewels of the Trade Live. My name is Jordan, and today we're talking about green nephrite jade. Be sure to leave all of your nephrite jade questions in the chat. In the last live stream, we talked about high quality gem grade lapis lazuli in fine gold jewelry from Mason K's Secret Stash. So be sure to go back and watch that video if you missed it. Before we get started, I want to tell you about the International Jade Summit to take place this year on June 14th at the Monterey Bay Jade Festival. This all-day educational event will feature seminars from some of the world's leading experts on the topics of jadeite jade and nephrite jade. You can learn more and register for tickets via the link in the video description. So, who all is here? Who's in the chat? Say hi. I would love to hear from you. Tell me all of your thoughts on green nephrite jade. There are really three categories of jade. So, like three main economies for nephrite jade material. Number one is the Chinese jade antiquities trade, which consists of statuary from the pre-Republic era, the Chinese dynasties. This is completely separate from the jewelry industry, which is what I mostly talk about here on Jewels of the Trade. To clarify on the nomenclature, antiquities refers to artifacts from a past civilization. Antiques are items that are over 100 years old. Vintage refers to items that are 50 to 100 years old. And estate refers to items that had a previous owner. There is also a hugely gargantuan, massive industry in China dedicated to replicating antique jades. From what I understand, there are whole cities that revolve around this trade. Number two is modern art. So jade carvings, sculptures, and statuary. And finally, jewelry. But as you can see, jade is a fine jewelry item, but as a material, it is much, much more than jewelry. I've even heard a lot of jade sellers say that they don't really consider themselves to be in the jewelry industry because they think of themselves as being in the jade industry. So within the jewelry category, I think you have a pretty broad range of sellers and even products. There is a rumor floating around that nephrite jade isn't valuable. Why is that? Well, most people haven't seen expensive nephrite jade. A lot of fine nephrite sells in China, but doesn't necessarily make its way to the USA. And the reality is, there is a lot of affordable nephrite jade on the market. But that doesn't mean it's bad. Take these, for instance. These are mid-grade with an earthy green color, characteristically unlike jadeite jade in hue. They have a glassy luster, they have few inclusions, smooth texture, and they're set in a fine metal. They're gorgeous, yet they're affordable at only $440 from Mason K Jade. There is enough supply of this quality of nephrite jade that, for now, it doesn't have to be expensive. It's fine jewelry with a durable gemstone suitable for an heirloom, but it's not expensive. And actually, I think that's part of why it's growing in popularity. If you walk into a typical jewelry chain store like Kay or Zales, all of the jewelry that's selling for $400 is just absolute garbage. Fake stones have been machine set into hollow, flimsy sterling silver or 8-carat mountings posing as 10-carat. $400 is a lot of money, and yet in the jewelry world, sometimes it's not even enough to get a year's worth of wear out of the piece. Unless you're buying jade. You can spend $400 on a piece of jade jewelry and have a really unique, durable piece that you can pass down to your kids and grandkids. So I want to really dive into nephrite jade quality codes with this video. They are often confused with jadeite jade's treatment codes, which we've discussed at length. A, B, and C are commonly the jadeite jade treatment codes. In nephrite jade, you have the same quality codes that you have for any other colored gemstone. But also, like any other colored gemstone, there are no universal grading standards for nephrite jade. There are no universal colored gemstone grading standards for any colored gemstone. However, in the industry, we're used to this system of A, B, and C. And then when you have something better than A, you go up to AAA and then, double A and then AAA. And you'll have occasional sellers who are calling things like quadruple A and quintuple A. And honestly, it just gets out of hand. It's just really nonsensical. So discussing nephrite jade specifically, I think a lot of us have heard of like triple A nephrite jade or double A nephrite jade or even B quality nephrite jade. What does that mean? And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the live chat as well. So please contribute. The way this type of grading works, a seller or sometimes even a miner evaluating their own rough is going to categorize their own material where the best material coming out of their mine or the best material that they sell is considered AAA. Obviously, this can lead to some confusion because two separate mines can have drastically different top qualities, right? So that means that a piece of jade that one seller or one miner might call AAA, another miner might not call AAA. They might call it AA or A or even B, or maybe even something totally different, because these are usually internal grading systems. And I think that that's not conveyed to the customer as clearly as it should be. Let's dive a little bit deeper into what exactly that means. Do you remember this piece? Steven Sednick actually shared this pepper with the JOTT audience in our collaborative video on Siberian jade. Frankly, one of my favorite videos on the channel. This is fine material, but it's still not the finest that has come out of the number 7 mine in Russia. So if a mine produces higher qualities than this, that mine might call this quality AA. That is just a hypothetical, and I do think most sellers would call this AAA. This is much, much higher quality, though, than the top quality coming out of 90% of nephrite jade mines in the world, maybe more than 90%. So you might have some mines where this, noticeably different, is their finest quality. Does that mean they would call this AAA? Maybe. Some sellers might actually do that. And in fact, I've seen sellers call very poor quality material A, AA, and AAA. This is just an example. Obviously, Mason K would not call this AAA material. And the point is, this is really cool jade. I mean, it's a fantastic price. These bracelets sell for $230. I think right now they're even on sale for $140, which is a steal. But the point is that this quality is obviously not the same as this. And I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone's nephrite. I'm just trying to show you the quality comparisons so that you can evaluate quality for yourself when you're shopping and not get fooled by the AA, AAA crap. This is obviously incredible material and is worthy of the grade AAA should a seller decide to call it that. But just know that most of the time, a seller calling their jade AAA, they're not going to have this. Like, this is not the quality that they're usually talking about. They typically just mean something totally different when they say AAA. And I do also want to clarify, there's nothing wrong with calling your jade AAA, like as a seller. Like, this is an imperfect system, but it's still a system. I think the better educated the customer is, the more sense it will make to use terms like AA and AAA. I think the only problem you really run into is when you have a seller that's calling subpar material AAA and justifying it because maybe it's the best quality that's coming out of their mine. And so maybe to them it does seem like really high quality, but on the grand market it's not. So it's really just something to be aware of. We have talked about jadeite jade quality factors extensively on this channel, but we have not discussed the nephrite jade quality factors because it's honestly more complicated. We'll dive into this a little deeper in a second, but first I do want to check the chat and see how everybody is doing. Hi, Mark. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Mason K is here. Jeff and Chris are in the chat. So if you have any questions that I can't answer, don't worry. The experts can answer it. Laura, it's so good to see you. Laura loves nephrite. Somebody named Jade is here. That's very exciting. Rodney, welcome. I'm so glad to see you. Erica, thrilled that you're here. We're going to have so much fun. Oh, Erica, you're going to love, in just like a few minutes, I'm going to show a piece where you're going to have to guess which one is real and which one is fake. And I think you're going to really enjoy that. Gumps sells high-end nephrite. Yes, they do. Gumps is one of the coolest stores in the country. I don't know if you guys have read Richard Gump's book, Jade Stone of Heaven. It's the first book I read on jade. Anyways, he had a store that is still in business called Gumps San Francisco. And I mean, they just have incredible jade. Incredible. Mason K says, gorgeous. The Wheelers are here. Welcome, Wheelers. Great to have you. So glad that you're here. Laura commenting on Steven's pepper. I don't know if you saw the Siberian Jade video, but Steven has some crazy material. It is just awesome. Yeah, Rodney understands how the AA, AAA thing gets like totally out of hand in pearl grading. I have a video that dives deeper into this called How Not to Buy Pearls. And in that video, Jeremy Shepard really breaks down how pearl sellers have abused this grading system of AA, AAA, and they've like taken it to like, you have pearls that are like 6 and 7 A's, and it's like, this is really just starting to lose all meaning. So let's go ahead and talk about translucency in nephrite jade. So in jadeite jade, translucency is the factor that can make the $10,000 difference. You guys know this. In nephrite jade, though, translucency actually doesn't seem to matter quite as much. It's not a value factor, but you can have really inexpensive nephrite that has translucency. Now keep in mind, the most translucent nephrite is not as juicy as the most translucent jadeite jade. So that does matter. Also, I do believe this piece was already sold by Mason K, but there is a link to their other nephrite jade items in the description if you'd like to make a purchase. Please use the discount code JOTT, J-O-T-T, for 10% off when you place your order. This not only saves you money and can be combined with other discounts, but it goes a long way towards supporting this channel. Luster, surface, texture, like whatever you want to call it. The surface of the nephrite jade is what makes the $10,000 difference that I was talking about. Does it look like buttery, delicious pork fat? I know that sounds so weird, but I'm very serious. Is the texture homogeneous, even, and mouth-watering? In nephrite, a glassy luster is not as desirable. It can still be valuable, probably because it's competing with mid-grade jadeite jade. But the pieces selling for tens of thousands have an enigmatic, greasy luster, and they're often not high polished. They usually have more of a matte finish. So the texture of ultra fine nephrite jade is characteristically ungem-like. That's really what sets it apart. Like, it doesn't even look like a gemstone. And it comes from the fineness of the tremolite fibers or actinolite, depending on the piece. And we will talk more about that later. But on the topic of quality, the fineness of the tremolite fibers is what makes this exceptional. Some people work in the jade industry their whole life, and they never see a nephrite bangle like this. You guys know Gemcore. Nia, are you here? Nia is a member of the JOTT Discord, so many of you have chatted with her there and on Instagram, and I know a lot of you have bought from her as well. When I decided to show an example of fine quality green nephrite jewelry, I immediately thought of her. This bangle would sell in a store for at least $8,000. I have seen similar bangles listed for around $20,000, but I'm not sure if they actually sold at that price. I think we're heading in that direction though. This is crazy rare. It has an incredible ping too. Just listen to this.
Singing.
Nia has this ultra fine green nephrite jade bangle in her personal collection. So it is not for sale. This is a really great example of excellent texture. The color is great too, don't get me wrong, it's unreal. But the combination of color and texture or luster or surface or whatever aspect you want to address it by is what makes this bangle rare, valuable, and truly top quality. This is actual fine quality nephrite jade. And even though Nia is not selling the ultra-fine bangle, she does have other nephrite bangles available in stock at the Gemcore. Nia, thank you for letting me share your videos with the JOTT audience. And if anyone else would like to share photos of jade from their collection, please join the JOTT Discord, link below. We're getting some great reactions in the chat. I love seeing your guys' response. Awesome, awesome. So take a look at these. No one can say this isn't fine jewelry. These nephrite jade beads just glow. The color's great. This strand is $1,100, knotted on an adjustable cord. These beads have bright, even color and great texture. So to answer the question, is nephrite jade valuable, which is where we started all this? Yes, There is affordable nephrite. There is even cheap nephrite, but there are varying qualities, and the higher quality, the more desirable and the more rare. These beads on screen are on the upper side of medium quality. In the grand scheme of nephrite jade, there is much higher quality than this. However, this on screen right now is higher quality than most nephrite jade you'll ever see in a jewelry store. It's higher quality than the top quality coming out of Canada, and it's higher quality than green jadeite jade beads selling for the same price. Side by side, you look at an $1,100 strand of beads, you're going to get a better color in nephrite, probably, than you are in jadeite. So, in my opinion, that's part of what's really driving the nephrite jade demand right now. Is you can have this really fine quality piece of jewelry and not break your budget. So if you didn't before, I hope you think of nephrite jade as a fine jewelry item now, which sort of begs the question, are there nephrite jade simulants? Yes. It is possible for a non-jade to pose as nephrite jade and sell for an unfairly high price. Anything valuable is going to be mimicked. On the inverse of that, some sellers get a hold of nephrite jade and think it's all cheap. So they might accidentally sell it for an unfairly low price, though I don't ever really hear of that happening. But theoretically, it definitely could. So in the case of nephrite, price isn't always a great indicator of what you're buying, especially because prices can range from $20 to $20,000. And this is my personal opinion. I think right now we're kind of seeing a change in nephrite jade value. I think the value is going up. I think demand is going up. So we're kind of in an in-between right now where maybe some sellers don't know what the prices should be, because just a few years ago, prices for nephrite jade were really low, and now they're getting higher. So what are we looking at here? This is two separate strands. So the left is one strand and the right is another. Only one is jade. Which one is it? Let me know in the chat. And while you do that, I'll get caught up with the live chat and see what everyone is up to. So let me know which of these strands, left or right, is actual jade. I did post a photo of this to the community tab on YouTube. So you might have seen this already. Mark says the bangle is beautiful. Rodney has some. Yes, Jade West. We love them. They have phenomenal nephrite jade from Canada, and it's such a great family, such a great company to work for. Amazing prices. We absolutely love them. Laura says the right side is jade. Do you guys agree with that? You think the right side's jade and the left is something else? That would be, let's see. Mark says the one on the right is real, in my opinion. That would be correct. So the strand on the right is Canadian nephrite jade, worth a few $100s or so from Jade West. And the strand on the left is quartz that I picked up for about $10 at a gem show. This is another reason why jewelers are a little intimidated by the jades, and why some of them will buy gold, but probably won't buy jade from customers, meaning they'll buy it new from their vendors, but probably not secondhand. A jewelry store with a skilled in-house gemologist, however, can distinguish these two gemstones easily with a refractometer. Jade collectors can usually tell by looking based on the difference in luster. Nephrite jade has a greasy luster, and quartz is very glassy. I mean, Laura and Mark could tell, I'm sure a lot of you could tell when you saw it. They also, you're going to have to take my word for this, they also feel completely different on the skin. So the quartz beads, the ones on the left, they don't feel like jade at all. Let's take a close-up look. So these are the fakes. These are the quartz. I guess I shouldn't say they're fake. They're real quartz. They're just fake jade. Gorgeous green gem from around the world, and they are all just awesome. I agree. I'm just not that picky. I love green. I love green gemstones. I hate to see people selling a gemstone as something that it's not. But in defense of, the situation, like the people who sold me these, they disclosed that they were quartz. I would have known, especially, it's hard to tell on camera, but seeing these in person, it's a lot easier to tell in person that they're not jade, but not if you haven't seen a lot of jade. And that's the thing. Like, if you're just getting into jade, it can be really intimidating. But I don't want you guys to be scared. I want you guys to be equipped with information so that you can make really, really good decisions when shopping. And another part of that is joining the Discord. So I did want to bring up, we have a Discord server for the Jewels of the Trade channel. There's a link in the video description. I highly recommend joining. It's like a group chat of jade lovers, and the people in that Discord are so knowledgeable. They know so much. And so it will really help elevate your knowledge and prepare you, whether you're a shopper who's wanting to make a jade purchase, or if you're a seller who's wanting to become more confident, more comfortable with selling jade, you should also consider joining. I think that there's a lot that the trade could gain from some of the information that is floating around about jade on the internet that hasn't necessarily hit the industry's radar quite yet. So moving on, what does everyone think of this dark green fish carving in Nephrite jade? Do you prefer jade to be a piece of wearable art like this carving, or more of a traditional jewelry item like beads or a bangle? Let's talk about nephrite jade for everyday wear. Can you wear your nephrite every day? Yes. On a piece like this, you have to be a little mindful of wearing out the cord, but honestly, having it restrung is just a part of normal maintenance, anyways. Nephrite jade is the toughest gemstone in the world, but its hardness is not normally as good as jadeite jades. So, most people will say that nephrite is a 5 to 6 on the scale of mineral hardness, but honestly, the same piece of nephrite can have varying hardness in it. It's it's just not that simple. And some nephrite can be a 7, which I don't think gets talked about enough. As a ring, you want to be careful not to scratch your nephrite jade, just as with any other colored gemstone. But on a carving like this, especially around your neck, I would not worry about it because it won't come in contact with very much. I have abraded my green nephrite jade bangle. Let's see. Let me show you. I don't think you'll be able to see. I can't see the abrasions on screen. I can see them in person. But anyways, I've abraded this bangle and it's hardly noticeable, really. If you decide that the scratches do bother you, a lapidary can always polish your stone down the road. It's really not that big of a deal. I love this braided cord. It's nice and long and it has an adjuster. You can purchase this at mkjjewelry.com. The link is in the video description. Ooh, Mason K wants to know if the dyed quartz feels lighter than the nephrite jade beads. Not necessarily lighter. I wouldn't say they feel like by weight, I wouldn't say they necessarily feel lighter, maybe a little bit, but it's more of like the texture on skin feels a lot different. Like it doesn't, when you touch nephrite jade, because it's kind of greasy, your finger kind of drags on it. You don't have that on the quartz beads. Like texture wise, I think that's probably the biggest giveaway. If you were to touch it, if you were to hold it, you'd be like, something's off about this. I don't think this is jade. These beads have nice, even color, few inclusions, and are accented with 14 karat yellow gold. Such a great price on these at $510. So where does green nephrite jade come from? I suspect these beads have to come from Russia, which is also where the finest green nephrite jade in the world comes from. Most green nephrite on the market is from Canada, Russia, or China. There are many more nephrite jade deposits around the world, but they're much less significant, albeit very interesting. I've discussed these locales at length on this channel, particularly in my collab with Shane Zach of Freshwater Jade on nephrite jade origins. The link is in the video description. These green nephrite jade beads from Mason K have an iconically Siberian look. Wyoming, USA is known to have produced this quality of material in the past, but those resources have all been long since depleted. So you won't come across a strand like this that's known to be Wyoming apple. Steven Sednick and I did a collab on this channel diving deep into the most iconic Siberian jade mines. It's one of my absolute favorite videos on this channel, so be sure to check it out if you haven't seen it, or rewatch it. Honestly, if you even if you have seen it, the information that Steven shares there cannot be found anywhere else on the internet, and I know that because I have tried. I've tried to find it. So, what is nephrite jade really? If you're still watching this video, you're a true jade lover. You need answers to complicated questions. So, nephrite jade is not a mineral. It's a gemstone comprised of the minerals that form the actinolite, tremolite solid solution series. In this solid solution series, actinolite and tremolite are called end members because they represent the two pure chemical compositions at either end of the series. But a single crystal can be an intermediary between actinolite and tremolite, which leads to some confusion in nephrite jade classification. Most nephrite jade is actually tremolite, which is what's shown on the screen. So what makes the distinction between tremolite like this and nephrite jade? The oversimplified answer is the size of the crystals. Tremolite crystals are long and needle-like. Finer than rutile needles, tremolite has a fibrous habit where the crystals are almost like hairs. This stone appears to be polycrystalline, where multiple tremolite crystals form together, and you can see the individual crystals. When the size of the crystals are considered microcrystalline to massive microcrystalline, I know we're getting so complicated here, the tremolite might be considered nephrite. Nephrite jade can be sorry, I'm drinking water. Nephrite jade can be fully or only partly tremolite. This was sold to me as cat's eye tremolite because the crystals are large enough to see with the naked eye and have a distinctly linear orientation. It doesn't have the homogeneous, microscopic, chaotic crystal orientation that nephrite jade usually has. Could someone sell this as a nephrite jade? Probably not. But I mean, I guess maybe. I wouldn't. I would not call this nephrite, but there might be a good argument for it. So if you can think of one, please share your thoughts in the comments. This sort of parlays into the cat's eye jade argument, which I have a video of on this channel. Basically, for a long time at the gemological level, cat's eye jade wasn't considered to be true nephrite because the fibers were oriented in the same direction. And even if the fibers were really fine, some gemologists thought that this precluded it from being nephrite because it meant the stone would be less tough. Like it might break easier if the crystals don't orient, like if they don't overlap with each other. Come to find out, you can have rough where the surface has parallel oriented fibers, but underneath you can have like the overlapping chaotic fibers that go in all these different directions. So theoretically, you can have chatoyancy and toughness in the same specimen. Additionally, nephrite jade cannot be so well defined that a certain amount of toughness can qualify a stone as nephrite jade because you'd have to break it to find out. And if you're going to measure the crystal sizes, I mean, a gemologist is not going to sit and measure crystal sizes. Like they're all microscopic. So it's not practical to develop a system for like sort of delineating where tremolite ends and nephrite jade begins. So in modern times, I would say most people consider cat's eye jade to be nephrite jade. I mean, chemically, it's tremolite, which is what nephrite jade is. And the durability factor, I think, just it can't necessarily be evaluated in the way that we thought it could. And so it's beautiful. It's an incredible stone. China has embraced cat's eye jade as a jade. So I personally have no problem calling cat's eye jade a jade or even cat's eye nephrite. And if you want to learn more, I do have a video with Washington jade that dives deep, really deep into like all the nerdy good gemological stuff surrounding cat's eye jade. Let's take a look at the chat. The Wheelers are in Washington State. Yeah, so the blue cat's eye jade. Right. It's beautiful. It's incredible. It's gem grade. It should absolutely, in my opinion, be called a jade. I am pro calling the blue cat's eye jade a jade. So I want to designate the end of this live stream as a JOTT community segment and discuss some matters unrelated to the topic at hand. We're going off on a tangent. So those of you who are in the JOTT Discord know that we often have really great discussions surrounding both jades in this community. If you're not in the Discord yet, I do encourage you to join. I want to address some things that have come up in my YouTube comments lately. Since some of the users that are commenting are actually not in the Discord, so they might not get a chance for like deep discussions, and they might not get answers to their questions outside the limits of the comment section. Before I address this commenter's concerns, I want to say right out the gate that Jade Maya in Guatemala does not sell polymer impregnated jade. This commenter is concerned that the jade they purchased from Jade Maya is impregnated with polymer because they were able to scrape a residue off of the surface of the jade and because the bangle does not ping. So a few things here. I am so glad that this commenter shared their concerns in my comment section instead of just going on thinking that Jade Maya had done something that they didn't do. So we were actually able to discuss this in the comments and sort everything out. But I want to share with you all some of the key takeaways from this because it was such a valuable discussion. So when jade has been polymer impregnated, the polymer is on the inside. So what this shopper was able to scrape off actually may have just been jade itself. Like they may have accidentally filed off like jade grains, or it's possible that the stone had a beeswax coating, and that can sometimes be visible and can be scraped off. This commenter was also concerned about the authenticity of the jade because it didn't ping. So I do want to clarify, just because a bangle doesn't ping, that doesn't mean it's not jade. In fact, so let me zoom in so that you guys can see this. So Hunter has been working on carving my new jade bangle so that I can wear it in Vegas next month. I'm very excited. And Monterey for the Jade Summit and the Jade Festival. And so this has a lot of albite inclusions. It's really fun. It's really pretty, but it's fairly opaque. You can shine light through it, so it does have translucency, but comparatively, it's pretty opaque. This bangle of mine does not ping. And also, Hunter would want me to tell you it has not been polished yet, so don't look too closely at it. But it doesn't ping. So if I hang this on a string and I tap it with a hard object, no sound comes out, and it's not fractured. So your more translucent jades that have a finer quality, a finer texture, they will ping if they're unfractured and natural, right? So we use the ping test to distinguish when you have translucent unfractured jade. The ping test tells you if this is natural or treated, kind of, sort of, probably. I mean, there's exceptions to both, and it's not like a hard and fast test, but it can still give you information. So if you have a jade bangle and it doesn't ping, that does not mean that it's not real. It might not be real, but that's not the thing that means that it's not real. So I also wanted to just sort of discuss, there is a fear on the internet of treated jade. And I know this channel has somewhat contributed to that. And it's founded because there is so much treated jade posing as natural. But I think if you have a piece of jade that has the markers of natural jade, the inclusions, if it's opaque, if it's granular, if it's inexpensive, if it doesn't look super, super translucent, it's probably not polymer impregnated, because the reason that they impregnate jade with polymer is so that it'll be translucent. So I want everybody to just kind of keep in mind that when you're shopping, you should be aware, you should be concerned about a piece that looks too good to be true for too low of a price, but don't be scared of jade just because it's inexpensive. Does that kind of make sense? So moving on to the next topic, does jadeite from Guatemala change color? I get this. I get this a lot. And this, I'm going to keep saying it on this channel. No, Guatemalan jadeite jade does not change color. Now, you can have the appearance of color change in jadeite jade if it is opaque and light colored and exposed to dyes or chemicals that might affect the porosity of the stone. That is not permanent. So, like, if you were to wear a jade bangle, like a white opaque jade bangle, and you wore it every single day, and you're like getting into some sort of chemical or something that's like kind of staining it, that can like be polished out. I don't think you should subject your bangle to that, because it's difficult to unstain it, you know what I mean? But it's not technically a color change. It's more of a staining, and your translucent jades probably won't do that, and your darker color jades probably won't do that either, if that kind of makes sense. In the case of Guatemalan jadeite jade, I don't think anybody has like experienced that, like staining of Guatemalan jade and then thought, oh my gosh, it must change color. I actually think this is like straight up just a rumor that some sellers have created so that people won't buy Guatemalan jade. Sorry, I think that's really what it is. And then you have I do think you have trustworthy sellers who have good intentions and good hearts who hear that information, they think it's true, and then they accidentally spread it. So I don't just trust someone just because they think Guatemalan jade changes color. Because like for some reason, a lot of people think that. So we're working on busting that myth. Um, I don't know if anyone mentioned it in the live chat, but there's also this. If anybody has photos of this Nelson blue nephrite from New Zealand, I am super interested. Please share photos of this with me. I want to see it. If whoever commented this or anybody who has some of this wants to join the JOTT Discord and share a photo from their collection of the Nelson blue nephrite from New Zealand, I'm super excited. I really, really want to see this. I want to learn more about it. Let's see. Let's check the chat real quick. Oh, thank you. I'm going to tell Hunter that you said that. He's going to feel so proud. Thank you so much for saying that nice thing about my bangle. Yeah, Rock and Wheelers, who the source is, it makes the biggest factor. So I think what the Wheelers are trying to say here is that you need to shop with a trustworthy seller. Like it really matters who you're buying from. And like in the case of Jade Maya, which somebody was the commenter was concerned about Jade Maya, they're a vertically integrated company. Like I would not be concerned about them. I would not be concerned about Mason K, obviously, Jade West, Mine Mountain. You guys know, I think a lot of you guys who watch this channel a lot, you know who the really good trustworthy sellers are. If you have found a faceless overseas seller that doesn't answer the phone and doesn't respond to emails and doesn't share additional photos and videos of the piece, that's when I start getting, really concerned. But overall, like use common sense, use your spidey senses, and really, ask around, check Reddit, get information before shopping with a seller, because you want to determine that they're a trustworthy seller, not just because you want to get real jade, but you want to feel confident in your purchase. Like you want to be comfortable after you bought it. I've seen a lot of people buy something because they thought it was a good price, jade, and then after they have so much doubt that it's natural, they have so much doubt that it's genuine or that it's real. And I just I don't think it's worth it to pay any amount of money and then be like, well, gosh, I just really don't feel good about this purchase. You want to feel good about the purchase, so you need to feel good about the seller. And then finally, I did want to, sorry, I'm still reading the chat. Oh, yeah, colors. Let's talk about colors. So, what all colors are there? I have a lot of videos that dive into that. Green and lavender are like the main colors of jadeite, but then you also have white and ice being the colorless, translucent variety. You have yellow, orange, and red. You have brown and gray and black. So there are a lot of different colors of jadeite, but there are a lot of colors that are not jadeite, right? So when you see like pink jade, that's probably not. That's probably not jade. You might see someone call lavender jadeite jade, pink jade. And you might see nephrite jade with pink inclusions be called pink jade, or even jadeite jade can have grossular inclusions that are pink. So you can have intermixing of grossular and jadeite, where the grossular is pink, and so it might make the jade look kind of pink. But if it's too much of the grossular, then it's not really considered jadeite jade. It gets very complicated. But anyways, there are also, more importantly, there are like vivid candy colors that you see on Amazon that are like hot pink or bubblegum pink that are claiming to be jade, and they're just straight up not. Like you're just not going to see like translucent bubblegum pink jade ever. That's just not a real thing. Heard that mutton fat jade refers to nephrite jade top quality, just like imperial jade refers to top quality green. Yes, this is true. I would say it seems to me like mutton fat, true mutton fat, nephrite jade is more rare on the market, because the way I understand it, when Andrew Shaw came on my channel and talked about this, which that video is not linked in the description, but if you just search nephrite jade in China, it'll come up. The way Andrew Shaw explained it, there are collectors that like are waiting outside of the mines for mutton fat jade to be discovered, which most of it's been depleted by now, because it's been mined out of Xinjiang for hundreds of years. And so they're literally buying it at the mine and then having it carved by a carver. And so in a jewelry store, you're probably not going to see mutton fat nephrite jade. It does refer to the highest quality of white nephrite jade. And kind of like what we talked about earlier, what makes it that really high quality has less to do with color and more to do with the texture. So mutton fat nephrite jade, which is white, has a really, really phenomenal homogeneous texture that makes it look like food, like pork fat. Like it doesn't even look like a gemstone at all. Yeah, mutton fat is highly sought after. This is correct. What colors are there in nephrite? This I also talk about on my channel. Nephrite is usually white, green, or brown. You do have yellow. You do have lavender nephrite that does exist. So I would encourage you to watch some of my other videos to find some more like examples of this, but also if you want to join the JOTT Discord, there's a lot of really great examples of different colors of nephrite jade there. Because and you can have blue, nephrite jade. Like there's a lot of colors of both jadeite jade and nephrite jade. The warning that I have to issue with that information is just that you're gonna have sellers that have like just nonsense. Like they're gonna have like translucent bright blue, or like bright teal something, and they're calling it jade. They're calling it Hertian jade, which is what nephrite jade is usually called online. And or they might call it jadeite jade, and it's just not. Like I think if you search jade on Amazon, honestly, most of the things that are gonna come up are just straight up not jade. So that's like a pretty good rule of thumb. Many colors, many shades of colors. Rock and Wheeler says, do my best to different types of the test for the ones I mind. Yeah, black nephrite is definitely a thing. Black jadeite jade is a thing. Black nephrite jade is a thing. I have a video on black jades that compares black nephrite jade and black jadeite jade side by side. It is very difficult to distinguish them. Very, very hard. Both of them are a really, really dark green. And so depending on how it's cut, you can shine a high-powered light through it. And that translucency is usually the indicator of whether or not it is real jade. Now, black serpentine can glow green under a high-powered light, but it looks different. It straight up looks different. So that example is in my identifying rough jade video with freshwater jade. There's a whole bunch of videos on these things. I think you're going to have to deep dive down the rabbit hole because I don't have the footage on hand, but they're great questions and I have covered a lot of these topics. Is mutton fat like a pure white? I don't think it's quite a pure white because color is complicated and there is more to color. Like we think of color as swatches, I think, in our mind, like a paint swatch, or, if you're used to working in Photoshop, you have that graph with like the colors that go from like red to all the way to all the colors. Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet. So it's not so simple in gemstones because you have the texture element. In the case of mutton fat, white nephrite jade, it's not like a pure white. Nothing really is, not any materials, not any gem materials are not going to be like truly pure white. There's going to be something else to it that makes its appearance very distinct, and it's very difficult to describe, I think. Unfortunately, I have no examples of mutton fat jade because it is so rare that I can't even find anybody to send me like a really good photo of it. But there is a lot of nephrite jade that is white selling at auctions right now for very, very high prices. And I think if you look around on Sotheby's and Christie's, and maybe even Heritage, probably Heritage, I'm trying to think, any of the big auction houses, you're going to see some really great examples of high quality white nephrite jade. And you're going to see what I mean. It's not as much the color. It's the texture that makes it really high quality. Dake is here. Fantastic. Dake can explain this way better than I can. Dake says mutton fat is kind of light beige. The super white ones are often Russian. Yeah, and I think like sometimes the ones that are super, super white, they're not really considered necessarily very high quality. If they're glassy. Is that right, Dake? Would you agree with that? That like if it's super, super white and it doesn't have the texture to it, then it's not necessarily high quality. Let's see. Rock and Wheelers growing up in Guam. Wow, that's interesting. Truly blessed to see wonderful carvings. That is awesome. Guam has jade? I would like to know more about this. This sounds like a very interesting topic. And then finally, I wanted to share another comment that I received on the legal process of how New Zealand protects their punamu, which I just found this fascinating. This is one of the comments on my Jade in History live stream. If anybody wants to go in and read it and interact with this commenter, because I think there's a lot of information that could be added, but this is like really, really great, really solid information about the New Zealand government and how it protects its jade. So we can continue this conversation in the Discord. The link is in the video description. Thank you so much to Mason K for sending me Nephrite Jade pieces for this video. And thank you to the members of the JOTT Discord for sharing photos of your personal collection with me to show in this video. I will see you guys next time.